everyone, I'm Domingo Gomez and this is the OnePlus 12, a phone that I personally love, mostly for its beautiful design, but in all other aspects, it's actually really good. OnePlus has always tried to find a balance between specs and price, but this one brings a lot of new features that you only find on high-end devices, like the screen, which is slightly larger this year and significantly brighter than its predecessor, elevating it to compete with other high-end and more costly devices.
We also have a new front-facing camera that finally is able to record at 4K 30 frames per second.
But there's also the return of wireless charging with a speed of 50 watts, but with the cable, we continue at 100 watts. All of these improvements are welcome, especially since they were something that I criticized in the OnePlus 11. But what surprised me the most were little things that often go unnoticed, but I do think they make a difference. In the battery, for example, we go from 5000 to 5400, which in PC Mark translates to about 15 hours of screen time. All versions of this model come with UFS 4.0, which also improves the system speed. Its USB port is now 3.2, allowing faster file transfers, but also better support for other accessories like this monitor that receives video and power from the OnePlus 12. Or let's also take a look at the vibration motor, which has reminded me a lot of the PlayStation 5 controller for the detail and different ways of expressing the vibrations of what we're seeing. It's a shame that when navigating the system you will not feel this vibration, but I do hope that they can implement it in more games and apps soon. If you have noticed so far, I've hardly talked about the design, the screen, or even the performance, and that's because in all of this aspect, this phone is great. I love its design in this emerald color with lines, with the profile of the rear cameras well integrated, and a somewhat matte finish which makes it look and feel premium. And look at this, they also kept the side slider. The only thing missing is water resistant, and considering this is the best phone from OnePlus and that the 10 Pro had it, well, there's not really an excuse here. Its screen is also great for viewing content, and I don't mind that it's curved on the sides, although look how the edges are super thin on top and the bottom. I think a lot of people just hate curved screen because they saw a comment about it on Reddit, but if the screen is good, and if the curved screen does not create any problem when you're navigating through the system, what can you say? I mean, it's a good screen. But let's talk about the performance. And here I have to say that it's always the same. Not because it's a slow phone, but quite the opposite, giving us an excellent performance in any type of apps or games that you put in front of it. In benchmarks, the OnePlus 12 gives us absurd values thanks to its Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 processor. And in the speed test that I usually do opening apps in 2 rounds, you can see how the results are quite similar to those of the Pixel 8 Pro, but lower than those of the OnePlus 11 from last year. This doesn't mean that the OnePlus 12 is slower than the OnePlus 11. Well, it kinda does in this test, but there's more to it. What I feel is that the system has fully transformed to ColorOS, leaving behind, that fluidity and speed that was so characteristic of OxygenOS and that at least last year we still had with the OnePlus 11. And if you're thinking of playing a lot with this phone, be careful with throttling, which seems to occur after a few minutes, losing about 50% of its performance in both 3D Mark tests. Again, this doesn't mean that it's a slow phone or anything like that. It's just that, they're going now for a more complete package and not as a speed, as their main objective. If you want something like that, well, Red Magic has a better phone for you. And a clear example of this evolution is in its cameras. Not only has the design of the rear cameras improved, but also in the superb quality of its photographs. I don't think they're in the same level as the Pixel or an iPhone, but the truth is that I'm surprised by the sharpness and good color balance. There's some occasions where the autofocus or ISO go crazy, or that I thought certain photos wouldn't look as good as they did. Although I must say that this camera is not far behind from the top ones. Its macro photos have good sharpness and color, its new periscope sensor is a pleasure to use due to its good calibration, its new front-facing camera also looks much better than before, and the wide angle, Well, this is perhaps the weakest of the three. But once we switch to video mode, I think this is one of the phones that I could use to record on YouTube. The stabilization is always good, even when recording with the periscope lens. And the quality obtained in 4K or even 8K, it's what you would expect from a top-of-the-line phone. During these days in Italy, I haven't been able to compare it with the iPhone or the Pixel, but if I had to use this camera to record what I need, well, I wouldn't miss them. The OnePlus 12, it's probably the perfect phone for a lot of people that are looking for a great design and very bright screen, outstanding performance, and versatile and capable cameras. It's no longer the OnePlus that we grew up with, but it has become that phone that it's very complete in all aspects, that all around, that has a fair price, and it's perfect for a demanding customer. Now, for $799, I do think it's a fair price for everything we're getting. And when we compare it to the S24 Ultra or the Pixel 8 Pro, for example, yeah, they probably have better cameras, but they're also more expensive, and there are other aspects where they are not better than the OnePlus 12. I do like this phone. I think it's an all-around great device that for $800, it gives you almost everything that you need. I wish it had a better system like Oxygen OS that we had 2 years ago, and even water resistance. But besides that, it's a good price phone that competes with others that are much more expensive, and over time it will, lose a little bit of the value, and at the end of the year you can probably get it for $600. So yeah, I love it. I think it's a good recommendation, but if you have a different opinion, leave it at the comments. I see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao!